Okay, so I picked up this lady. She's a professor, and she's going to like some convention with a whole bunch of other professors. Okay, so I asked her the question about ChatGPT AI. How often do professors use it, and how often do they reprimand the students for using it? And she said that she's heard of some professors dropping out students for using ChatGPT, but she said also, like, how could you? She would argue with them, like, how could you even tell? AI has gotten to the point where you can't even tell. And so what I'm learning now is that a lot of these professors, what she was telling me, a lot of these professors are pretty much kind of letting it slide and letting their students use AI, ChatGPT. It's just because it's gotten to the point where they don't know. And I asked her, I was like, well, what about, I said, well, what about, I heard there's professors that use AI tools that could detect that, they're using AI. And she says, yeah, but they're not really, they're not really quality. You really still can't tell, and so there you go. The culture right now is, coming to this professor conference is they're not really doing anything about it. People that are going to college and I talked to the one student, I said, well, what do you know about AI? And, what do you know about, how's the culture at your school? And she said, well, our teacher, she said she could tell that we're doing AI, and she said she's going to flunk us, and she was really adamant about it. And so, in my opinion, I think they, because, I'm taking like online classes too. They have to put that at their disclaimer. You can't use copy and paste. You can't use AI and all that. But I don't think they really do anything about it because I've never met anyone who. I did meet one lady where they dropped her out, but it was more of like not using AI. It was more of like using plagiarism. She plagiarized a report, and they have these thing called plagiarism detectors, and it was like pretty much 100%. So she pretty much didn't even do it. But and I asked her about what about the future jobs. Do you worry about it? She says she thinks she's got another 10 years as a professor, and she thinks AI is going to take over, which is interesting. How this is why I'm getting into nursing school, because there's always going to be people dying. There's always going to be people sick. So it's a evergreen job. But I just want to share that conversation because I thought that was really interesting. How professors can't do anything with the students that's using AI for their studies. It's gone beyond their control. The thing that she was kind of complaining about was like they're not even learning anything. I even met a lady. I didn't meet a lady. I saw a video of a lady who she was a teacher, and she just quit her job because she says that the students aren't learning anything because they're using ChatGPT and everything. So, in my opinion, I think she even said this. She thinks it's okay to let it slide because she knows the scam of how the school system is. They just want to take your money. They make it in a way for some people that if they fail, they have to pay tons of money again and again and again so they can pass, and that's how they get scammed because they don't know how to. You got a mother that's got 3 kids and she's got to go to college, but she's got to work full time. It's hard for her to even study, and those are the type of people that end up having to retake it over and over again. So I understand where she's coming from. How she was talking about how she thinks it's okay to use AI, it for her students, because she said even the professors use it for letters of recommendations and all kinds of stuff. So if professors are using it, why are they chastising, the students? Anyway, it's kind of one of those unspoken things. It's like, they know you're using it, but they're not going to even like talk about it, because. And I actually asked ChatGPT, like, what percentage of students use AI, for their studies. It was like 90% or something. But interesting conversation. Just wanted to share that, because this is my new hobby. Just talking to people, sharing their epiphanies that they share with me. So